Okay, I'm joined today by Mrs. Elizabeth Bisson, paraprofessional at ALT, and Ms. Brittany Leonard, special education teacher at ALT, are two Educators of the Year award recipients for the school. Congratulations to both of you, and thank you for joining me for this conversation today. And Ms. Leonard, if we could start with you, talk to us about your history in the Warren Township schools and a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I started in Warren, over at Mount Horeb, actually as a paraprofessional. And that was 7.5 years ago. And halfway through that year, I ended up being lucky enough to land a teaching position over at ALT as a special education teacher. And now, a few years into that, I began running the SEED program, which is the Social Emotional Educational Development Program. And I've been running it ever since.
Perfect, thank you. And Mrs. Bisson.
Hi, this is my 14th year at ALT as a paraprofessional. I'm not new to ALT. I'm also a resident of Warren, and my two daughters also went to ALT. So it's kind of fun to be at the same school where they were. And I actually, before some retired, I had the chance to be with some of the teachers that they had. So it's kind of a nice connection all the way around. Yeah. And I just, vary classrooms and just helping the teachers when they need help. And my student assignments vary every year, but it's been a great fit for me. I really enjoy it.
Great. And again, welcome to both of you. And Mrs. Bisson, if we could stay with you.
Sure.
Talk to us about why you went into education in the first place. Why did you come into this kind of a role?
Sure. Well, I guess I could start with when when I had my girls. I was lucky enough to be a stay-at-home mom, and I did all the volunteering at ALT, and I got to get a kind of a backdoor look at what went on during the school day when my girls were there. My youngest, when she was in school full-time, and then probably when she was in second grade, I started working part-time at the Giving Nest preschool in Martinsville. And I started with the real little ones, the 2-year-olds, and I stayed there a few years, and I was able to see how they grew from little, 2-year-old, 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds. And it was really, I really enjoyed that part of it. So when my youngest started at Warren Middle, I said, these little ones are going to be going to kindergarten. So I thought, let me check out and see if Warren needs any help, in the schools. So I reached out to the Board of Ed, and they actually had an opening, and I interviewed. I think I interviewed at Woodland and then with Kathy Bond at ALT, and they had the opening, and I've been there ever since. And yeah, it's great. So, I saw things from the outside, and then once I got in, I was, privy to all the magic that goes on in the classroom. It's been great. So that's kind of how I got into it. My degree is in business. It's not in education, but it's just been a really good fit for me. I enjoy it.
And Ms. Leonard, what's your origin story? Why did you come into education?
It's kind of a twofold. First off, I come from a long history of teachers. I have 5 teachers in my family between both sides. My aunt was my principal in elementary school. My grandmother was a teacher there. So they kind of provided me with that example of what it's like to help people and children. And so I really clung on to that since, ever since I was a little kid. And I also have a close family member who has special needs. And so that kind of pushed me towards the special ed side of things, along with my volunteer work. I volunteer at Camp Fatima of New Jersey, and it kind of just opened my eyes to how unique every child is, and how every child needs different things to be themselves and be successful independently. So really drove me to want to be a teacher.
Excellent. And probably for both of you, this is the most unique and maybe most challenging year of your career. So, Ms. Leonard, if you could start, what has been the most challenging aspect of teaching in a COVID-19 world?
Keeping the students on task. I'm sure every person's going to say the same thing, but keeping them on task and keeping them engaged. It is very difficult, but me personally, I mean, along with that, I think I just miss being able to work with them like we used to. You know, it's really hard not to be able to plop down next to them and work with them one-on-one or in a small group. There's a different connection that you build. So I think that's definitely one of the most difficult parts of it.
And I saw Mrs. Bisson was nodding along with some of that. You want to build on that?
That's the one thing I wrote down, especially when you're assigned to a certain student or a certain class. You really want that connection to be able to develop, and not only keeping the distance is hard when the child needs encouragement. You know, it's like you want to go and reach for them, but you have to pull back. But then also the time, like we're not in school the whole day, and even as a para, like I kind of miss recess and the lunchroom and the specials, because that would give me, extra time with my student to kind of get to know them better, what they like, what they don't like. And everything is very, structured now. It has to be. So I think between the distance and the time, being all, I don't even know, everything's shortened, I guess. I just miss that like being with the student, but we try to make up for it in other ways, I guess. Yeah.
Which is a good segue to the next question. So what is one area of success that you've been able to enjoy with your student in this environment?
Well, I'm a little older than Brittany. So I think the technology, for me, I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot from the students. And I think they're learning a lot, and I think they realize how important it is to know how to use these devices and how to do it responsibly. And I think, I, for one, they're really fortunate to be in the district that everybody has a device. It's not happening that way all over New Jersey, that's for sure. And also, being able to physically be in school. Our buildings are, right, Britt? I mean, they're up to.
No, I agree.
It's like some towns, they're not there because their buildings just can't, they're not, as well kept as ours. So that's definitely something that's a plus all the way around.
And Ms. Leonard, what about you? Successes for you and your students together?
I think of things, I mean, I agree with everything Ms. Bisson said. I think of things a little bit differently in the program that I run. So I think something that we've all learned to do is persevere even more than what we used to. So seeing my students progress and try so hard to overcome those challenges, they already may have had some, and they're overcoming even more being in this platform. So to me, just having that skill and developing it even more, I think we've all learned and we've all been successful in raising our own bars, even higher than they used to be. So I'm very proud of how much they've developed during this.
Exactly.
And now, if you could try to fast forward and think ahead, when your students look back at the past school year, back to last spring, and in both of your cases, you get to know kids over multiple years, which I think is different than a lot of people who may only know them for their 1 year.
Yeah.
Starting with you, Ms. Leonard, what do you hope that your students will remember about this time together with you and their classmates?
My hope is that they remember all the times we laughed, because out of everything, the best parts, no offense to academics and everything else, but the best parts were when something failed or I made a giant mistake and couldn't project the right video, or everyone's screens went blank and our computers all messed up, and all there was left to do was laugh together. And so I hope they look back on it while, you know, it was absolute craziness, I hope they look back and they think of the fun times and how we tried to lift each other up during it.
Yeah, exactly. It's not, you know, every day didn't go exactly as planned. And for a teacher to say, "Oops, made a mistake. Oops, I made a mistake." So I think the kids are lucky to see, you know, not everything is perfectly perfect, you know, no matter how hard you try, you know.
And I think, and so thank you both for taking the time to join and have this short conversation about your experiences. I think certainly the students you work with are the better for having you in their lives as their educators. And that goes in any year, but especially during circumstances like this, that's even more important. So congratulations to both of you for being selected as Educators of the Year, representing ALT. Very well deserved, and you know, keep up the great work. Thank you again for taking the time out of what is always a very busy day to reflect with me a little bit.
Well, thanks for having us.